Picture your great Nan, pinny still on, hand smelling of carbolic soap, stepping through your front door this afternoon. She last saw a kitchen in 1956. What would she make of yours? Number 14 would leave her utterly speechless. Number 6 would make her laugh until she had to sit down. And number 1? That might just break her heart. Some of your home she would envy beyond words. Most of it she simply would not understand. Hit subscribe, because by the end of this list, you may never see your own house the same way again. Let's open the door. Number 25. You've left every light in the house burning, and there's nobody in half these rooms. The very first thing out of her mouth, before her coat is even off. In 1955, electricity came through a shilling meter in the hallway cupboard, and when the shilling ran out, the whole house went dark mid-sentence. Lights went off the moment you left a room, because every hour of light was money draining away. She would walk through your home turning off switches like a woman possessed. The landing light, the kitchen spots, that lamp in the spare room nobody has entered since Tuesday. Then she would discover your smart bulbs cost £15 each. A week's groceries, she'd say, for something you leave on anyway. Number 24, your washing machine just spoke to you, and you ignored it. She would stand in front of that drum, absolutely transfixed, because Monday, in her world, was wash day, and wash day was warfare. Up at 6 to boil the copper. White scrubbed on a washboard until her knuckles bled. Everything hauled through a cast iron mangle that could take a finger off, then pegged out and prayed over, because if it rained, the whole day was lost. A twin tub, when they finally arrived, cost around £60, months of a working man's wages. Your machine washes, rinses, spins, and sends a polite notification to your telephone, and you leave the load sitting in there until it smells and you have to run it again. That second part, the running it twice, is the bit she would never, ever forgive. The machine itself, she would call it a miracle, and she would mean it. Number 23, a machine that washes the dishes. And you still say you haven't time to cook. She would open your dishwasher like it might bite. In her kitchen, washing up happened 3 times a day in a deep ceramic sink, water heated on the stove, soda crystals to cut the grease, and every plate dried by hand with a tea towel that got boiled white again on Mondays. It was the job children learned first and complained about longest. So the machine itself would delight her. What would baffle her is the arithmetic. You have been handed back an hour of every single day, an hour she would have wept for, and dinner still comes out of a cardboard sleeve. She kept house without a single labor-saving device, and put a hot meal on the table at 6 sharp. You have a robot for the dishes and a drawer full of takeaway menus. Where, she would ask quietly, did all that saved time actually go? Number 22. Your refrigerator is the size of a wardrobe, and there's nothing in it you could make a dinner from. She would open that great American-style fridge with genuine awe, because in 1952 fewer than 1 home in 10 had any refrigerator at all, and a Frigidaire cost more than £100. Then she would start looking. 4 kinds of milk, 9 jars of sauces, 3 of them open since last year. A bag of salad turning to liquid in the drawer, half a takeaway. She kept a week of meals for a family of 5 in a cold larder, and a mesh-fronted meat safe, and she could tell you exactly what was in it, down to the last egg, because every item had been paid for out of a housekeeping purse she counted twice. A fridge this size, she would say, and you still stand in front of it saying there's nothing to eat. That sentence would genuinely bewilder her. Number 21. Where on earth is your larder? She would go looking for it, opening doors, expecting a cool north-facing room with a stone shelf, a marble slab for the butter, hooks for the bacon, and rows of labeled jars. Kilner jars of plums bottled in August, jam from the garden brambles, pickled onions maturing for Christmas. The larder was the engine room of the house, stocked in good weeks to survive the bad ones, and a full larder was a full heart. What she would find instead is a cupboard containing 14 pastes and pestos, 6 near-empty cereal boxes, and a tin of chickpeas from an address you lived at 2 houses ago. No preserving, no bottling, no stores against a hard week. You shop meal by meal, day by day, and if the shop's shut for 2 days, you would genuinely struggle. To a woman who fed a family through rationing, your kitchen isn't stocked, it's camping. Number 20. You've thrown away food. Actual food. In the bin. This is the one that would make her go quiet in a way you would not enjoy. She would lift the lid and see half a loaf, a browning banana, last night's leftover pasta, and the end of a roast chicken with a full meal's worth of meat still on the carcass. In her kitchen, that carcass became stock. The stock became soup. The stale bread became bread and butter pudding, and the fat off the pan went into the dripping jar for Saturday's fry-up. Wasting food after the war wasn't just expensive, it felt close to sinful, and during rationing, it had actually been against the law. British households now bin roughly a quarter of the food they buy, hundreds of pounds a year scraped straight into landfill. She wouldn't shout about it. She would just quietly take the carcass back out of the bin, and by evening, your house would smell of soup. Number 19. Right, here is where she stops being amazed and starts being suspicious. You paid money? For water. In a bottle. She would hold that bottle of mineral water up to the light like evidence in a trial. In her Britain, water came out of the tap, cold and clean, and the idea of paying £2 for it in a plastic bottle when the same tap is 6 feet away would strike her as either a joke or a swindle. And once she started down that road, there would be no stopping her. Coffee at £3.50 a cup, when a tin of ground coffee made 40. Sliced fruit in plastic tubs at 4 times the price of the fruit beside it. Somebody, she would say, has worked out how to sell you your own laziness back to you, wrapped in plastic, and you've thanked them for it. And honestly, standing there in your kitchen, could you argue? Number 18. Half a cupboard of cleaning bottles, and your oven's still filthy. Under your sink she would find an arsenal. Antibacterial spray for the kitchen, a different spray for the bathroom, cream for the hob, foam for the oven, gel for the loo, wipes for everything. Most of them half-used, all of them scented like a pine forest that never existed. Her entire cleaning cupboard held white vinegar, bicarbonate of soda, a bar of green household soap, newspaper for the windows, and a tin of Zebo for the grate. Total cost, a couple of shillings, and her front step was donkey-stoned so white the neighbors measured themselves against it. Here's the part that would make her smile grimly. Cleaning product companies now sell British households over £1 billion of bottles a year, and half of what's in them is the vinegar and bicarb she used all along, coloured blue and marked up 2,000%. She knew. She always knew. Number 17. Where's your washing line? She would stand at your back door scanning the garden for it, because to her a garden without a line strung between 2 posts was like a kitchen without a kettle. Sheets cracking in a March wind, shirts pegged in size order, the whole streets washing up by 9 on a fine Monday, and heaven help the woman whose whites looked grey. Line drying was free. It bleached the sheets in the sun, and the smell of wind-dried linen was the smell of a week done properly. You dry everything in a tumble dryer at roughly £1 a load, shrinking your jumpers and filling a lint trap with what used to be your clothes, while a perfectly good sunny day happens outside the window. She would find your error eventually. wedged behind the sofa, still holding one sock. She would say nothing. The look would be enough. Number 16. You've no net curtains. Everyone can see straight into your front room. She would clock this from the pavement before she even reached the door, and it would scandalize her more than almost anything inside. Nets were non-negotiable in the 1950s. They let the light in and kept the street's eyes out, and they were taken down, washed in dolly blue, and rehung so often that a grey net was a public confession. Behind them, a woman could watch the whole road, the comings and goings, the tallyman, the courting couples, without anyone knowing she was there. Your great glass wall of bifold doors, your bare sash windows lit up like a stage at night, the whole family visible from the street eating dinner off their laps. To her, that is not modern living, that is performing. Although give her one evening in your window seat with a cup of tea watching the neighbors, and she might, just might, come around. Number 15. You've lit candles. Has the electric gone off? She would spot them flickering on your mantelpiece and instinctively reach for the fuse box, because in her day, candles meant one thing: a power cut. And there were plenty. Candles lived in the kitchen drawer next to the matches, plain white, tuppence each, strictly for emergencies. The idea that you paid £28 for a candle on purpose while the lights work perfectly would take some explaining. And when you told her it was scented like fig and cashmere, she would ask what on earth a cashmere smells like. Her house smelled of what was actually happening in it. Bread proving, a stew on, coal smoke, sunlight soap. Your house is scented like a forest, a bakery, and a beach at once, and nothing in it is real. She'd find that properly unsettling. Number 14. And here it is. The one that would stop her dead in the doorway, speechless. The television. Not that you have one. She saw her first set around the coronation in 1953, 9 inches of grey fog in a walnut cabinet, and half the street crammed into one front room to watch it. No, what would silence her is that yours is the size of a dining table, thin as a magazine, bolted to the wall like a painting, and there is another one in the kitchen, another in the bedroom, and one in the children's rooms too. Her telly, when it finally came, cost 80 guineas, nearly 3 months' wages, showed one channel, and shut down for an hour each evening so children could be put to bed. It was an occasion. Yours plays to empty rooms. She would stand in front of that vast black rectangle, watch you scroll past 200 channels saying there is nothing on, and simply have no words available. Number 13. Second pattern break. And this one's about where you eat, because she has just noticed there is no table laid. You eat your dinner, on the settee, off your knees. In her house, tea was at the table at 6 o'clock, cloth on, everyone in their place, and you asked to leave when you'd finished. It wasn't fancy, liver and onions on a Tuesday, but it was the one moment of the day the whole family sat facing each other, and the table was where everything actually happened. News was shared, rows were had, homework was done, Christmas was hosted. Your dining table, if you have one, is currently a desk with a laptop on it and a pile of unopened post. Surveys now suggest a huge share of British families eat most meals in front of the television. She wouldn't lecture you about manners. She'd just point out that you bought a house with a dining room and then chose to eat in the dark, alone together. Number 12. There's a boy on a moped bringing your tea, and you're wearing pajamas at 7 in the evening. The doorbell goes, an app chirps, dinner arrives in a paper bag, and she watches it the way you'd watch a magic trick you don't approve of. She fed 5 people on roughly 10 shillings a week, planned 7 days of meals in her head, and stretched a Sunday joint into Monday's cold cuts, Tuesday's rissoles, and Wednesday's soup. The average British household now spends well over £1,000 a year on takeaways and delivery. When she worked out that the £30 you just spent on one delivered dinner was more, in real terms, than her entire weekly food budget, she would need to sit down with a sweet tea. And the truly strange part, she'd say, is that the food in those little boxes, curry, chips, fried chicken, is mostly things she could make. You're not paying for dinner. You're paying not to make it. Number 11, you've no teapot. I've looked everywhere. There is no teapot in this house. Genuine alarm, this one. Tea, in her Britain, was the answer to everything. Bad news, good news, cold weather, visitors, grief. The pot was warmed first, always, loose leaf went in, 1 spoon per person and 1 for the pot, and it steeped under a knitted cozy while cups and saucers came out for company. Rationing had only fully come off tea in 1952, so not a leaf was wasted. What you have is a machine that screams steam through a pod of coffee that costs, per kilo, more than she paid for a week of groceries, and a lone box of tea bags shoved behind the protein powder. And when you do make her a tea, it's a bag jabbed at with a spoon in a mug that says, "Live, laugh, love." She would say it was lovely. She would be lying. Number 10. This cupboard is full of machines still in their boxes. Behold, the gadget graveyard. The bread maker, used twice in 2021. The soup maker, the spiralizer. The ice cream machine bought 1 hot week in July. The air fryer, to be fair, actually in use. She'd rather approve of that one. It's just a small, efficient oven, which is very much her language. But the rest? She ran a kitchen on 1 good knife, 1 heavy pot, a pressure cooker that lasted 30 years, and a wooden spoon that raised 4 children in more ways than 1. Every tool she owned earned its shelf space daily. You have £400 of idle machinery entombed under the stairs, each one bought to become a person you were never going to be. She'd just ask, holding the still-taped pasta machine, what exactly you thought you were buying, because it wasn't a pasta machine. Number 9. Where's your sewing box? This shirt just wants a button. She would find your jumper with the small hole, learn that its fate was the bin, and physically not be able to process it. Every 1950s home had a sewing box or a biscuit tin of thread, needles, spare buttons, snipped off dead shirts, and a wooden mushroom for darning socks. Clothes were mended, let out, taken up, turned and handed down, because a good coat cost weeks of wages and was expected to last a decade. Make do and mend wasn't a slogan to her generation, it was the water they swam in. You own more clothes than she owned in her lifetime, some costing less than a sandwich, worn twice, then gone. Britain now bins around 300,000 tons of clothing a year. She would fix your jumper in 4 minutes while telling you this, without looking down at her hands once, and then she'd teach you, whether you asked or not. Number 8. Third pattern break, because she has just opened the airing cupboard and found it. The ironing pile. Some of this, she would say, lifting a school shirt from the bottom strata, has been here longer than the child it belongs to. Ironing in her week had its own day. Tuesday, straight after Monday's wash. Flat irons heated on the stove, then that first electric Morphy Richards that felt like the future itself. Sheets were ironed. Tea towels were ironed. Some women, and she'd name names, ironed socks. It wasn't fussiness. A pressed collar was armor. It said, "This family is managing," whatever the truth was behind the door. You, meanwhile, own a steam generator iron with more settings than her first car had features, and you use it 4 times a year, before weddings and funerals. The rest of the time, you shake things vigorously and call it done. She'd have that whole pile flat in 90 minutes, and she'd enjoy it. Number 7. It's January, the radiators are blazing, and the bedroom window is open. Have you all gone soft or mad? Then she'd stand on a warm radiator pipe in her stockinged feet and go very quiet, because this she dreamed about. Her bedrooms were unheated. Full stop. Ice formed on the inside of the windows. You dressed under the blankets. Hot water bottles went cold by 2 in the morning, and the only warm room in the house was wherever the coal fire was, which she had to rake, lay, light, and feed every single day, hauling the scuttle from the shed in the rain. Central heating reached fewer than 1 British home in 20 at the start of the 50s. Warmth throughout the whole house at the touch of a dial is the single luxury she would never once complain about. She'd just quietly close the window and bleed your radiators and tell you what your boiler pressure should be. Number 6, and here comes the laugh, the proper sat-down, hanky-out laugh, because you've just explained the gym. Let me understand this, she would say, wiping her eyes. You bought machines to wash your clothes, machines to wash your dishes, a machine to hoover the floor by itself, and a car so you never have to walk. And now you pay £40 a month to go to a big shed and lift heavy things. On purpose. For fun. Her exercise was Monday's wash, scrubbing floors on her knees, walking everywhere with a loaded basket, digging the veg patch and carrying coal. She was never once told to get her steps in. The steps were simply called Tuesday, and the treadmill would finish her off entirely. Walking. She would howl, going absolutely nowhere, indoors, while the sun is out and the windows need doing. She'd dine out on that one for years. Number 5. Your doorbell has a camera in it, and you're hiding from the postman. She would watch you freeze mid-sentence, peer at your phone, whisper, "Who is that?" and simply not answer your own front door, and she would find it stranger than anything else on this list. Her door knocker went all day. The milkman, settling up Fridays. The rag and bone man. The insurance man collecting his shilling. The neighbor returning a cake tin with something in it, because you never return a tin empty. The front door was the membrane of the street, and half of life came through it unannounced. Nobody rang ahead, because there was nothing to ring on. Now every visitor is a suspect, filmed in high definition, and the parcels you actually ordered get left behind the wheelie bin anyway. All this security, she'd say, watching the little screen, and the only people who ever knock are strangers with cardboard boxes. Number 4. Put that telephone down at the table. I don't care that you're an adult. Down. This is the one modern habit she would confront on sight. No diplomacy, no adjustment period. Her household had one telephone, if it was lucky. A heavy black Bakelite thing in the coldest part of the hallway, on a party line shared with the neighbors. And calls cost enough that conversations were planned in advance like small military operations. The idea that the entire family could be in one room, each staring into a private, glowing rectangle, half listening, saying ma'am to each other, would strike her as a haunting. She watched families with nothing, no heating, no money, no certainty, hold together around one table and one wireless. You have everything, and you're all somewhere else. She wouldn't confiscate the phones. She'd just start telling a proper story, a good one, with scandal in it, and wait for the heads to come up. They would. Number 3. It's 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and this street is completely empty. Where is everybody? She would stand at your window genuinely unsettled. Her street at 2 on a Wednesday was a working organism. Women on doorsteps, washing going out, children everywhere after school, the coal lorry, the pop man, the Corona lorry with the fizzy bottles, and at least 3 people who would notice and mention a stranger. Everyone knew everyone, which was suffocating and life-saving in roughly equal measure. Your street is a row of parked cars and closed doors until 6, when the cars change position. Surveys suggest a third of Britons couldn't name a single neighbor, and she'd hear that the way you'd hear news of a death, because to her the street wasn't where the house was. The street was half the house. Who watches your children? She'd ask. Who feeds your cat? Who notices if your curtains don't open one morning? Someone should. Number 2. And now the room that would bring tears to her eyes. And not sad ones. Your bathroom. Hot water out of a tap, endlessly, in a warm room inside the house. And then you mention there's another bathroom upstairs and an ensuite, and she has to hold the towel rail. Her bath was a tin tub dragged in front of the fire on Friday nights, filled kettle by kettle, the whole family through the same water, cleanest first, and the lavatory was a brick privy at the bottom of the yard, torn newspaper on a nail, freezing in January. Nearly 4 in 10 British homes lacked a fixed bath at the start of the 50s. A hot shower on demand every single day was beyond her imagination's budget. So when she hears you sigh that the ensuite needs doing because the tiles are dated, she'd laugh, but gently. Dated. The word alone. Every tap in this house, she'd say, is a miracle you've stopped seeing. And number 1, the one that would break her heart. She would take her final walk through your home, the warm rooms, the full cupboards, the machines humming quietly, everything she and her whole generation scrimped and queued and dreamed toward, and she would say, very quietly, "You have everything we prayed for. So why does nobody seem to have any time?" Because that's the trade she'd see clearest of all. Her days were hard, cold, and endlessly laborious, but they were full of people. Neighbors in the kitchen, family at the table, children on the street, and evenings, actual evenings, when the work was done and the wireless went on and everyone was simply there, together, because there was nowhere else to be. You've automated the drudgery she carried on her back for 40 years, and somehow the hours it should have freed have vanished into commutes and screens and being busy. The house won, she'd say, resting her hand on your radiator one last time. Warm, safe, full of wonders. Now put the kettle on, sit down, and be in it. So here's the challenge. Pick one thing off this list this week. Lay the table, learn the neighbor's name, sew the button, boil the carcass. Then come back and tell us in the comments which one you chose and what your own Nan or great-Nan would say walking through your front door, because we read every single one. If this took you back, share it with someone who remembers a larder. She knew what mattered. Now you do too.